Okay, so good morning. Good morning, bon matin, ohayo gozaimasu. Welcome to our presentation. My name is Craig Anderson. With me are my colleagues Chrysler Pitts and Linda Cifelli, and we're going to present to you evolving options for engaging students through the Nancy Thompson Library Learning Commons. Point of order, this is actually the Library Learning Commons presentation. This is not the Qubit presentation. Apparently there was a change on the schedule. So if you're actually here for the Qubit presentation, don't go anywhere because we want more people here. Okay, so yes, we're actually 3/4 of the librarians at the Library Learning Commons, and that the Nancy Thompson Library Learning Commons, the NTLC, that's not a typo. That L there is doing double duty as both library and learning, so don't panic. So these 3/4 of the librarians, have been doing some projects, some research at the library, sorry, I'm blanking here. So we're going to be kind of showcasing these projects that we've been working on. There we go. We're going to be showcasing some of these projects that we've been working on, as well as getting some of your feedback on the different things, where else we can go with our studies. So basically, recently we were awarded the Rtr Project Award, Release Time for Research, as well as the Qfi, the Quality First Initiative. And we've been using those to work on some different projects involved with the library and with the university as a whole. So we're going to be, like I said, demonstrating what we've been doing with that and telling you some of our preliminary observations about these projects, some of the results that we've gotten so far. We've only been working on these for like this semester so far, so they're not quite completely finished yet. But and then hopefully that we'll be able to tell you some of the possible changes and additions to the Nancy Thompson Library Learning Commons services. There have been a lot of changes at our Library Learning Commons, so we're going to talk a little bit about that. And then we're going to kind of try and loosely get you into breakout groups so that you can ask questions, we can ask you questions, hopefully get some of your feedback and give you a chance to ask questions of us and put us on the spot. So, so now should I go to the next slide? Yeah. So now my colleague Chrysler Pitts is going to talk about the first of these projects, the RTR, the Release Time for Research project. So. The clicker doesn't love me. There we go. Huh? Oh. Point it back there. And just kind of click it. There you go.
Good morning. In 2017, the Nancy Thompson Library, or NTLC, transitioned from a traditional academic library into a learning commons. The NTLC provides information literacy instruction in various formats, online and face-to-face. Student academic support is provided by the Tutoring and Learning Support Services Center, Writing Center, and Public Speaking Lab. Students can receive tutoring in mathematics, computer science, economics, and a wide range of undergraduate courses. Writing consultations are available through the Writing Center. The tutors collaborate with students to help them develop their academic writing skills. The Public Speaking Lab prepares students for presentations and public speaking assignments. Technology support is also available for students. There are OSIS student technicians assigned to service the Learning Commons. Studies have shown that the Learning Commons environment encourages engagement with information in its various forms, reinforces the value of collaborative inquiry, creates new opportunities for community interaction, and supports students by helping them adjust and succeed. Recent research also shows evidence that students who utilize library and Learning Commons services in their first year of college have higher grades and retention rates than their peers. A similar study conducted by Murray, Ireland, and Hackathorn in 2016 found that library use positively influenced retention for first-year students, sophomores, and juniors, with first-year library users experiencing the greatest impact. With these studies in mind, the RTR project was conceived. The RTR project is a research study designed to gather information and support on the data that support services provided by the NTLC through in-person and virtual online experiences, and the impact of these services on retention rates and student academic performance. The current objectives of the study for the RTR project include examining first-year student engagement patterns with the Learning Commons service areas at King University and understanding academic performance and retention rates of first-year Keene students relative to engagement with the NTLC service areas. Craig will share the details of the QFI study.
Yes? See. Voila. Okay, so the QFI study, the Quality First Initiative, we're doing a couple things with it. Mostly it's, the title of our project is Connecting the Digital Student to the Virtual Learning Commons. So what we want to try and do is to try and get the students to meet them like in a more online environment. And I know it's cliche to say, but we want to try and reach them where they are. So what happened? Okay. Oh, you bring me another clicker. Thank you. Thank you. So we want to try and reach the students where they are. So we've set up, we've set up a number of video modules together with the Learn Blackboard project. That's a completely different project that we've been doing kind of on our own. But then we've also offered, so far this semester, this past semester, we've offered some online webinars using the WebEx. We have a WebEx account now through the funds that we got from the QFI. And we've been doing WebEx webinars, which pretty much anyone can sign up for. We had a bunch of people sign up for the ones that we held last semester. And what I'm going to show you this right here is, this is one of the presentations that we did, and this is one of the many changes in the Library Learning Commons is we now have something called WorldShare, which is it's kind of a book catalog, but it's really a book, article, video, everything catalog. And I was demonstrating this through a webinar. Some students and some faculty members even signed up for this. And what you're seeing now is the recording, because through the WebEx software, we were able to record this session, but you're only going to see what I'm presenting. In the actual webinar, there was a small window on the side that had a chat window where the participants to the webinar could ask questions, so it was much more interactive than what you're seeing here. They even had like webcams. If somebody wanted to show me something on their webcam, they could do that as well. But I'm going to try and, there we go. Okay. I hope you have sound for this. Yes? We? I don't hear myself. Oh, jeez. I might be paused right now.
Where's the recording? Okay, sorry. So welcome to this WebEx session. I hope this is helpful to you. What we're going to be doing right now for the next almost a half hour is I'm going to be telling you a little bit about the Worldcat Discovery feature from the library homepage. I'm Craig Anderson. I'm one of the many helpful and enthusiastic librarians here at the Nancy Thompson Library Learning Commons. That's what we're going
Bring
by
the volume
now.
down a little bit? Could you
So,
bring the volume down a little bit?
This session is
Just so I
going
can
to be
kind of talk
about
over this?
Worldcat Discovery. So basically what Worldcat
Okay, that's better.
Discovery is,
So yeah, as I said, when we were giving the actual webinar, on the side, you would be able to see kind of a chat window. They had other windows where I could see the different participants. I could activate their microphones if we wanted to communicate kind of voice to voice. And then this was a half-hour session. They were both half-hour sessions. There was this one, and then there was another one that was how to use the EndNote software, the bibliographic management service that we also subscribe to. So this is just one of the things, or well, this is two of the things that we've been doing with the QFI project. And in the future, we hope to have not just like webinars, but also like other types of video modules. I would love to even get into like more virtual reality projects, if I, incorporate that into the library, and just to make it fun so that we can get the students engaged, get them interested in doing library research. As exciting as library research is, get them more excited about it. So that's kind of where we've been going with the QFI project here. So. Now, Linda's going to talk for, should I advance the slide or?
Please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Craig. Hi, everyone. So for the spring semester, we are working on a schedule of additional webinars that we'll be offering, some that are more like library research focused, but also working with our colleagues in the Learning Commons to hopefully have some other workshops, like from the Writing Center, Tutoring, and so on. So as Chrysler and Craig mentioned, now that we've been working on the RTR and the QFI projects for the last semester, we would like to share some of our very preliminary observations, some based on the student user data that's been gathered, other observations based on more anecdotal evidence. It should be noted that at this point we're still compiling some of the usage data from the tail end of the fall semester, but we're almost complete with that. We're not yet at this point able to analyze the data in terms of like possible impact on retention and student academic performance. We'll be able to do that once we're able to get the final list of the students who are registered for the spring semester and to see who's coming back. As noted at yesterday's retention intervention session hosted by Dr. Croft, Dr. Lozada, Mark Sapara, and Aliyah Saraficevic, sorry, the number of first-year students utilizing the Writing Center and tutoring has been growing tremendously. The services jumped, I think they said 220% for the Writing Centers from 257, okay, sorry. So that was comparing fall 2017 to fall 2018, and 400% increase for the tutoring services. Again, comparing fall 2017 to fall 2018, so that's a huge jump. We've been looking at the numbers a slightly different way, looking at the total number of first-year students, so the 1,800 plus students or so, and that's where we really see that there still is need for improvement, drawing more students into the library learning commons and helping them to take advantage of the academic support services that are available to them. So I'm sorry to sound like a negative Nelly, but it's the reality, and we're trying to work with faculty and the programs on campus to keep the momentum going. So we'll illustrate some of the numbers on the next slide. But we just wanted to just comment on some of the other observations that we've had. A thing that we notice a lot with the library workshops, whether they're face-to-face or the online, is that students will sign up for them. We had a lot of marketing involved with that. We tried to put the message out there through faculty. We posted it on the Learn Blackboard module, the library's information literacy module, and on the website. It was all over the place. So, I think faculty were encouraging students to sign up, so that was a big thing. But what we do find is that students do sign up, but then they may not attend. So we need to kind of work on that. Another thing that we noticed is that we definitely observe first-year students using the library's resources, the databases, the library's ebooks. We see them using these resources while they're on campus. We see this when we're working with them at the reference desk or when they stop by and see us, when we work with them in class settings for library instruction sessions. But we were really shocked to see that the usage data for off-campus usage of the library databases and library ebooks is pretty much zero. And so there's a real disconnect there that we need to work on. So that really, really surprised us. Also, several years ago, we had worked with the GE to move the transition to Kane library visits into an online format. It had gotten to a point where it was no longer sustainable to do face-to-face library instruction sessions for the 70 or so sections of T2K that run in the fall. So we had moved that online into a set of brief interactive tutorials, which included an online version of the old T2K library assignment. We were very surprised to see when we were gathering the usage data that first-year students are no longer completing this module. It's sophomores and juniors that are doing it. And we think that they're accessing this module designed for first-year students through the library's Learn Blackboard module, which is really geared more towards intermediate level students in courses like Research and Tech and Transfer Transitions and so on. So we need to investigate that more and work on making sure that the online component is still useful for first-year students, and Chris will talk more about that. For the Qfi project, which Craig had been describing, as I mentioned, that students do sign up for things, but then they don't attend. So I think that overall we had about 60 or more students actually sign up for the webinars that were held in the fall. Ultimately, I think we had about 15 who attended one session, one live webinar session, and I think 12 attended the second live webinar session. So there's definitely interest, and we need to kind of make sure that we actually pull them in and have them take part with us. On a positive, slightly curious note, we noticed that students were continuing to use the online sign-up form for the webinars even after the webinar dates had passed. So it could be that they had gotten information from a professor but had forgotten to sign up on time, so they were trying to catch up, or maybe they wanted us to schedule more webinars. It was the very end of the semester at that point, so we needed to kind of reach out to them a different way. So what we did is we provided them links to the recorded webinars, like the one that Craig had just demonstrated. So, so we're thinking that it is showing that there is interest. The students are willing to take part in these webinars. I think with the WebEx software, many of us are used to using it for our own professional development, so it seems to be something that may be different for students to use, but once they get into it and start using it, I think it could be fun for them and interesting, but also setting them up for their own future where they will probably use similar types of webinar for their own careers. So this will be a good resource for them in a number of ways. Let's see if I can advance the slide. There we go. Now, just to illustrate the numbers behind some of these preliminary observations, as I said, there has been a huge percentage increase when you compare the Writing Center and the tutoring numbers from fall 2017 to fall 2018. But this is where we were looking at the entire 1,800 plus students that entered Keene in this past September. Let's see, I don't have my glasses on, but what we found is that for library instruction sessions, when students come to the library or librarians go out to a class and work with a class, or in library workshops, a total of 223 students took part in the fall semester, and this is 12.2% of the entire first-year student body. We found that 28 first-year students checked out at least one library book from the library, and that's 1.5% of the first-year student body. Here we have the big zero, where we saw that no first-year students apparently accessed library databases from off-campus. We know that they're using them on campus, but when they go home or are off-campus, otherwise they're not using the databases or accessing our library ebooks. We did see for the Writing Center, this is September through November, there were 93 first-year students who attended at least one session in the Writing Center. This is 5.1% of the first-year student body. The Public Speaking Lab, September through November, there were 4 students, so that's 0.2%, but I know that there are changes in that area that'll bring the number up. And for tutoring, and this is the tutoring and learning support on the 3rd floor of the Nancy Thompson Library. This number does not include supplemental instruction or tutoring offered through EEO, EOF, or other tutoring services on campus. But for the tutoring and learning support on the 3rd floor of the Library Learning Commons, there were 56 students who attended at least one session. A number of students attended more than one session, and that's 3.1% of the student body. So this is the first time that I know for the librarians that we've been looking at the data in this way. So it's been interesting, and we see that although numbers have been going up, that there are a lot of things that we can do working with you and with programs on campus to make sure that students know about the services available to them, and to bring them in and to work with them, and to make sure that they're getting the services that they need. So I'm going to turn the floor back over to Chrysler. Would you like for me to flip? Yeah, it's a little tricky. There we go.
Based on the preliminary observations that Linda just mentioned, as a team, we've identified possible changes and additions to the services provided by the NTLC. We'd like to collaborate with the GE faculty to revise the existing T2K tutorial modules, embed them as a required course component. We also plan to develop additional tutorials that target specific skills. We'd like to provide faculty with links to our research guides relevant for their courses. There are over 100 research guides that provide links to the library's digital resources. We'd like to build partnerships with student leaders to foster peer outreach regarding NTLC services and resources. Students value the input of their peers and also the opinions of their peers. We'd like to strengthen social media outreach to students. This gives us an opportunity to meet students where they are. Every student is engaged with a smartphone, a laptop, or a tablet. We plan to develop brief videos marking NTLC resources and services. And last but not least, we plan to strengthen the system we use for sending students reminders in advance of workshop sessions for which they have registered. We'd love your feedback and suggestions. Craig is going to give you an opportunity to share your thoughts.
Okay, so at another PDD session that the Nancy Thompson Library Learning Commons had last June, what? And yesterday, yes, as well as yesterday. We gathered some really good suggestions from the attendees on how the NTLC might partner with Kane faculty and programs to strengthen the NTLC services for students. While many of these suggestions will help us with some of the concerns we've identified through the RTR and Qfi projects, we would like to give you a chance to provide some feedback and/or suggestions on some specific questions. So, okay. So now, originally, we were going to have this be, we're still going to have this be breakout groups, yes? Yeah. Okay. So we have 4 questions here that we've been kind of pondering amongst ourselves, and that we would love to have your feedback, your input on. I would really love it if you could kind of loosely gather yourself into groups. I know this is kind of a very scattershot audience here. But how do you want to do this? Okay.
You can get into groups of like 3 or 4.
Yeah, if you get into groups of like 3 or 4 and just kind of go over these questions, I'm going to read them aloud. So the first question we had was, how do we encourage first year and other students to utilize the NTLC resources and services? As we've observed, there's not a lot of the first year students that utilize the library, or well, not our online resources, or as much as we can measure. So we want to also try and figure out how we would further develop the students' sense of community within the NTLC. We know that they come into the building, at least, because we have a Starbucks there. So we want to try and think of other ways that we can get them kind of have this be, you know, as the name Learning Commons suggests, to be more of a community of students. You know, hey, we're all going to the Library Learning Commons to, you know, start a study group, have something like that going on. But how do we kind of encourage that? How can we foster genuine engagement beyond just a superficial level? You know, we don't want them just coming into the library, going to the Starbucks, and then looking up something and then leaving. We want them to kind of be engaged, be involved in library and information research. And then lastly, how do we help students understand the value of strong information literacy skills as they go through their academic program? We know that there's, you know, with the birth of the magical world of the internet, we know there's a lot of fake news out there. How do we get students to get like information literacy skills so that they can kind of separate the wheat from the chaff and be involved in the world of research and information analysis, kind of evaluation of information. So we're going to give you a couple minutes, maybe 10, 15 minutes, to kind of go over these questions in groups or on your own. There is a link there, https://libguides.kane.edu/ntlc_RTR. We just put RTR and not RTR/QFI because that would have been too much. So that's the website that you can go to, and that will bring you to kind of an online forum where you can kind of give us your feedback, but we'd kind of like you to talk about it in here as well, and then after 10 minutes, maybe we'll have people come up to the microphones and give their input and or questions. So, sound good? Copacetic? Okay. Huh? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think so too. Oh, sorry. It's the, yeah.
Test the clicker out.
Okay, I mean, it might just be the way I was doing it.
Maybe we were pointing at the wrong thing.
No, you don't have to point everything. I'm just.
Maybe I wasn't doing it hard enough.
Yeah, I mean,
It seems to be working. I don't understand.
okay.
And you're not even pointing back there. Where are you pointing? You're just not
Nowhere.
pointing
Yeah.
anywhere. You shouldn't have to point anywhere.
That's what I'm saying. The range is long enough where I don't have to
Okay.
point. So as long as you just click the button,
It should just move.
you should just move.
Okay.
Can you give it a try?
Chris?
Oh, you want me to give it a try? Okay, I'm gonna go back. Oh, okay, you're right. But you must have the magic touch.
No. Because I was like, I think we need to charge them, and then my coworker goes, I charged them, all of them.
No,
I'm just like,
well, I think it's you. You're magic.
thrown off by it.
Yeah, you,
No, it's
Yeah, it's
concerned. I
fine
had me
now.
concerned because I thought we might have been having electrical interference with somebody in between us. And that
no,
was starting to
it's
get me
working
really.
fine with you.
Could you try?
You want you
I'm just a little concerned.
Oh, it's him.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to point anywhere. It's
I wonder.
yeah, that's the other thing I was thinking.
Yeah, I mean,
That worked out fine.
Maybe it's just warm enough.
So we don't have any electrical interference then?
Yeah.
no, yeah. I don't know why.
Okay. I have been concerned for a while because
Yeah.
sometimes
but
if
thanks
somebody
for
had a
fixing it.
supply.
Yeah.
No, not a problem at all.
Yeah.
Well, then at one point, it like, a couple times, it like, I would hit the button and nothing would happen, and then it would like start buzzing.
Yeah, that had that initially happened to me when I was bringing it to you. So I think what's happening is since you don't use it for about 2 minutes while you're talking or
Oh, it
something,
goes to
It
sleep.
shuts
it
off.
kind of goes into a sleep mode. When you click it, the vibration says that I've established connection with the computer again. So when I
Hello, hello.
It may have to warm up.
Yeah, Craig, turn it off and on, and then. Okay, yeah, give it like 15 seconds, and it sort of warms up. Just tap it and see if it's right. Yep, there it goes.
Okay, there it goes.
Um,
Oh, okay. A personal question? Not for the public?
This is David Barber. He's our new theater faculty.
Hi,
I was just telling him visual research. I have those videos of access to a lot of Broadway Live.
Oh, we have,
I'm not sure.
I forget what the Broadway one is. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe rather than waiting the full 10 minutes, if anyone would like to make any comments or suggestions or ask questions now, I can come around with the microphone.
Right, we do have the BBC Shakespeare videos that were, all the BBC produced all these videos in the 70s and 80s.
Hi, my name is Sasmita and I'm from Department of Biology.
I'm not sure exactly which one we have a license to.
My feedback is like, if we want to,
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
absolutely.
if I'm too loud, it's echoing. So how to make them aware about the library facilities and all. So I think one good way is the instructor should take the student to the library with a project or journal to find out in the library manually, and then let them share with their class fellow how to find out a book or a journal, and that way, at least twice during the semester, we're giving them some assignment wherein they're going to the library and finding out all those literature from the library. I think that's how they will be much more familiar with the library. Active learning, yes. Exactly. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Chris from the biology department. I had another suggestion. I find that some of the students have trouble with group work, with coordinating with each other and meeting with each other, and they're just communicating the day before something's due. Maybe if the library could help facilitate group work by advertising study rooms, allowing them to maybe book time to meet online, so they have a formal meeting time. Something like that might be useful in some of the classes.
Thank you. Great suggestions. So we're making note of all of your ideas, so thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Somebody over here? Have anything? You guys want to? Okay, sure.
Hi, I'm Karen Hart from the theater department, and what I have found is the students just don't go beyond the first floor. They go and get their Starbucks and they leave. Being in the design area of the theater, what I have found is I literally have to walk them over there and make them sit on the floor and go. They haven't learned the joy of just going through and picking out a book and then, oh, that book doesn't have it. What's this one over here? It has a cool title, or it's got, oh, it's red book. I like books that are red. And, sometimes they don't even know how to use an index. So I've done projects where I say you have to find visual research. You have to find a book with pictures of Roman vases, and then I make them actually tell me what year it was found, what it was made, when it was made, and then we pull it into a creative process where then they devise a piece, a theatrical piece based on this one visual piece. So they have to actually read the words that are around the pictures. I'm not saying I just make them go look at the pictures, but the fact that they actually have to touch a book, and a book that they don't know anything about. And I have done it before where I've just put them in a section. It's like, okay, you get these 5 stacks, and sometimes it'll be anatomy, and it has absolutely nothing to do with theater as you think, but then they have to develop a play based on what they found in those stacks, and it makes them touch the books. And I think once people get the book bug, they can't stop. If you ever go to Barnes & Noble, it's packed with people who just want to touch books. So I can't believe that our students, having that free facility on campus, don't want to just go touch the books,
Thank you very much. Up here?
We're on.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Either way. I'll
please.
Okay. Hello, I'm Shayla Ward. I am GE English. So when you mentioned the lack of that the students did not utilize the online library instruction for T2K, so that component was actually taken out in the summertime because they simply just did the library tour. So what we're all GE faculty back here. So what we were thinking about is perhaps maybe at some point during NSO, perhaps we could collaborate with you all to maybe work with the gym because we give presentations to the students and to show them those resources that are available via the library during NSO because you're attracting such a large population of students. So I think that's something that could work. And then also in my composition courses, particularly English 1030, I encourage my students to try to find at least one book that they can hold in their hands when they are doing their research. So I think it's also about communicating to them that books still matter, right? And that, you know, while we want to encourage information literacy, we also want to encourage
I'll make two comments. I was meeting with Doug and Matt here in our breakout group. With respect to the first question, I think that some of the steps that we've already taken with respect to the Learn module are a step in the right direction to essentially integrate a lot of the functions and the features of the library and bring them into the classroom where we as instructors can align them with our curriculum. I know that in the STEM version of research and tech, as well as the upper level science writing class that I teach with Provost Tony, we assign the Learn module as a
The second point that I'm going to make is that I think at least 3 times I've heard this in the professional development days, the sense that most students go into the library to use Starbucks as opposed to the library resources.
Along those lines, with respect to this Starbucks angle, I'm just wondering whether or not the library can take advantage of some sort of partnership, perhaps through Cougar dollars, cane bucks, or something of that sort, where, you know, you check out a book and you get 10% off a latte. I mean, it might be a very straightforward incentive, but the students are going to respond to those financial incentives.
Thank you. Sorry, now a bunch of people over here. Okay. I saw her hand first, so.
Fran Daly from HHP. I just want to reinforce your suggestion. I don't know if you've ever heard of this thing called fun theory, but Volkswagen created this competition to figure out ways to help people change negative behaviors by making the positive behavior fun. And so in my leadership class, each year the students come up with fun theory projects. So most of the time it's getting them to park further away and using exercise, but they always come up with the Cougar bucks as the reward at the end. And I honestly think, although you want them to have the joy of learning that motivates them towards a book, that sometimes you have to do something fun to change the behavior, and then eventually, hopefully, that behavior becomes a natural behavior for them to do. And the other thing I would think is maybe there's, you know how we have these electronic signs? I don't know if there's something in Starbucks, but as you leave Starbucks, there should be something that says, have you visited the actual library, you know, today, or something reminding them that, you know, because many students, when you ask them where the library is, oh, is that the building attached to Starbucks? So I think just constantly reminding them of some of that would help, but I have to say we might have to give in to bribes as a way initially to get them to be interested, because it isn't natural for them to go search for a book.
Yeah, and the thing that you said about the fun theory, that's kind of what we've been trying to do, especially with like the QFI thing, where we have like the webinars and we have the interactive, and like I want to do more have some kind of virtual reality thing or something cool like that for certain definitions of cool. But here.
Hi, Siglinda Roberts with Design. To go along with the whole Starbucks theory, we were talking about possibly, like, basically capitalizing on the behavior that you already have, which we deal with the built environment and, making people behave the way we want to. If the students are going there for Starbucks, and I've already been there and the whole Starbucks cafe is full, and I've gone there to actually work or to go to the library, what if the Starbucks atmosphere of the tables and the soft chairs and all of that could be actually kind of flow out into the library, so that the whole first floor could almost kind of be like a Starbucks, and then they're going there and they're actually in the library, very similar to how Barnes & Noble is. If you notice, their cafe kind of, expands out into the books. There's also chairs all the way in the bookshelves, and that way you're making it more of a commons. The other thing that we talked about was to have more of the study rooms, and where people may be given more of an incentive to go. And also, one of my students designed for her thesis basically a library learning center for students, and did a lot of surveys and things. So maybe she could even talk to you about some of the work she's done to try and get students to use a facility that's like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be interested in talking to her. No? Anybody else want to chime in? Okay. Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, I just also wanted to suggest that maybe sometimes during like national programs where like read a book a day or recognizing reading, you could have hold these or recognize these programs in the library, or maybe advertise on the school's website. So in that way, or maybe communicate it out to instructors that we can insert something in our syllabus, mandating students to at least go to the library to do something during that time, or even during the research days, where we can encourage students to go in to do some kind of like read a book or something.
Hello. There we go. I think, okay. There are two things at play. Brian Lorio, I teach research and tech with GE. First thing, we're talking a lot about students reading books. You got to remember that a lot of our students are not, a lot of our students are coming from backgrounds where book reading isn't necessarily promoted. We're talking about Starbucks being adjacent to Barnes and Nobles, and we got to remember that the city of Newark has no bookstores. And so, so we have a lot of students who are coming from places where bookstores are not necessarily a part of their everyday life, whereas Starbucks seems to be. So that's one thing for us to think about. Connected to that, in terms of having students reading books, a lot of universities have a big read or a first year read, and that might be something that we can do, especially coming from a GE standpoint, that we do maybe during freshman orientation, or when they come in, we connect it either to the transition to Kane classes or to the ID 1500 class, or something that builds a common theme that can also utilize the library. One thing I do know, though, which I'll say from the Learn perspective, I honestly miss having those one-on-one, bringing the students to the library. Number one, it gets them familiar with the library as opposed to an actual tour. It gets them familiar with the librarians. It's an actual place that they can go to. When they do Learn, and especially if there's not a penalty to it, they will just simply just do it for the mere fact of having it done. And the next thing you know, they have 1,000,001 questions about how to do research. And the ultimate last thing is just, when it comes to not using to not using the various databases involved with the library, I think a lot of the reasons students don't use it off campus is just because they're a Google generation, and it's so easy for them to Google everything. And one thing I try to do in my class is explain to them that everything you're finding on Google can be found on a library website, and even more, but it's that first they're scared to do it on their own. Yes, there's a little bit of a disconnect.
Yeah, no, we've definitely found that a lot. And we've, response to all of you, we have thrown around the idea of having like some kind of like a library learning commons, like a book club or something like that, where they would read a book, not necessarily interested in like their studies. Not to take away from, the hard work that they're doing for all your classes, but just to have something to kind of, let their mind rest and, have a book club where we could discuss something like that. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
We do a lot in T2K. The first year, we do a lot in a required GE class like the Research and Tech and even senior seminar. But I think that you should meet with the GE committee and just take a look at all of the GE classes, and perhaps you could come up with something that could be in all of our GE classes. In other words, just overhaul the GE classes just a little bit to add something to it in every class. I think that would work. Yeah.
Great suggestion. Thank you.
Yeah, so, anyone else? Did we have a closing statement? I don't know.
Well, I think some people were also submitting some suggestions online through the form
Right,
as
yeah,
well.
so-
So we'll definitely, we're taking note of all of your very wonderful suggestions. It's a lot of food for thought. So, we hope that we can reach out to you in the future and work with various programs, because there's so much that we can do, and it could be really exciting. So we really appreciate your thoughts and your time, and spending time with us this morning.
Right.
Are
Oh,
there
did you
any
wanna-
other questions? Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's true. And there's 4 of us, so. Yes.
But thank you for this session and discussion session organized by the staff. And I have a quick question about the statistics you provided about the first year, never used off-campus, the contact logged in the library. My quick question is, even me, when I searched outside the campus, usually use Google Scholar, for example. So I'm just wondering, if you search Google Scholar and you see on the right side the full text in the cane, right? If you click that, that's statistically included as a cane login or outside?
We would be able to gather that data as long as you log in with your Kane email, username, and password. So that gets captured by our proxy server for the off-campus access.
So that means they even they didn't use that kind of full text function from outside, right? Is that correct?
See if they're off-campus and they do not have Google Scholar set up to
Yeah, we
connect
should
to
have
the
it on the
university library.
Oh, I see.
Would not access the full text that's available through our library, but if they have it set up, and I think we need to get the word out about.
You mean the
what's involved in doing
you mean the remote access the function? Maybe that's one of the reasons students can use it. So if we actually promote more idea about how you use offline the university resources, actually that will increase the statistics library. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Chris, was there anything else you wanted to add? So again, if you have any additional questions or comments, please let us know. We'll be around for a little while longer if you'd like to talk with us one-on-one. And we also have that form online that'll be available if you'd like to submit suggestions later on as well. So thank you so much for coming today.